it's been a long time since we've done an FAQ Friday, and all of those questions are starting to stack up. So I thought we'd kind of do a lightning round, and I would answer some of the questions that I've been getting over and over again in recent posts. And Stuart has kind of compiled the list, so he's going to give me the buzzword, and I'm going to answer those questions.
Garden furniture.
Garden furniture. Okay, I have two, or my wooden garden furniture in particular is what you guys ask about. These small wooden chairs that kind of float outside in my backyard are from a company called Tidewater. If you just Google like Tidewater bench, it's inexpensive wood, but I've had these for years. I did put kind of a finish on them. They've lasted for a long time, but it's a really good inexpensive option if you want wooden benches or wooden chairs. The ones in the front are teak, and they were from Smith & Hawkins years ago.
Do you post every day?
We do try to post almost every day, with the exception of disastrous weather events like the ice storm we had recently. If some of you are unhappy that we don't show a close-up of something you won, or you don't think the production quality is absolutely wonderful, it's because we really try to show you what's going on in my gardening life in real time. So these are the projects that I'm working on. So occasionally the conditions won't be great, the sun won't be just right, there'll be power equipment in the back, but we just do the best we can do so that we can get you a post every day so you can kind of know in real time what's going on in the garden.
When to plant bulbs?
When to plant bulbs. Normally, I would start planting them now, and I'm on the cusp of starting to plant them. But typically, I do it 2 weeks or 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. You can plant them all the way up until the end of December pretty successfully here in Oklahoma. It has been so warm. With the exception of that freak ice storm we had, I don't think, Stuart, have we had another freeze since then. It has been inordinately warm. I'm in shirt sleeves today. So typically I wait till just right before Thanksgiving. If you're confused, just find out what your zone is. You can find that anywhere online or in the Colorblends catalog. It will tell you when to plant for your zone.
Sold out?
Apparently, this is why I always encourage people to order their flower bulbs really early in the year. I order mine as early as July or August because your favorite varieties will often get sold out. So if I have showed you some of the ones that I'm using and they're sold out, what I typically do is just ask them to make another recommendation on a blend that they might have that's still in stock, or basically just ask them what they still have available. It's a fun way to be kind of surprised and just try something maybe you haven't tried in the past. I get this a lot. Have I ever written? Will I be writing a book? And I have kind of toyed with this idea for years. As you can imagine, it's a lot of work, but I do think I'm going to be signing a contract to write a book in the next year, and I'll keep you posted as a little bit more information comes out. It will be about things, obviously garden related, that I'm passionate about. Yeah, this is a very specific question I wanted to answer because I showed you how I put some of my smaller topiaries back outside to get more sunlight and more humidity, and someone asked why didn't I use drip irrigation. Well, number one, these pots are really small and I've got tons of them, so I would have to have a drip irrigation line all over the place. It's much more efficient to just water them. Also, drip irrigation sometimes doesn't moisten the pot regularly. I also are kind of equally around the root ball, so I have found that it works a little bit better in the summer for large pots, but on my smaller pots I just water those by hand and I have a little bit more control.
When to plant pansies?
A lot of you have probably already planted your pansies, and that's fine. You can plant them as soon as the weather gets kind of reliably cool. Some people who have planted theirs, and even those pansies that I have that are still in the flats waiting to be planted, have already gotten kind of leggy. So I'm going to pinch those back. I typically don't install my pansies and my violas until after I have my tulips in, because I don't want them to be crushed in the process of planting my tulips. But you definitely can go ahead and plant them now along with your snapdragons, maybe some alyssum and other cool season annuals you might want in your garden.
Pruning evergreens.
Pruning evergreens. As you know, since I do so much clipped boxwood, I'm kind of constantly pruning evergreens. Right now I'm not doing that so much because I want whatever new growth comes out to have a chance to harden off before it gets cold. A cold blast can really kind of burn the new tender foliage that comes out. But once things kind of go dormant right around Christmas time, that's a great time to prune your evergreens, because then you can bring the prunings, like from, if you'd show my arbor vitae over here, Stuart, my arbor vitae, some of my other things, including some of my boxwood and junipers and such. That's when I like to prune them, and my hollies, because then I can bring that greenery in and I can use them for the holidays.
Damaged boxwood.
Okay, a lot of you, this is kind of a big question, have asked what about my boxwood that was damaged in the recent ice storm? And I'm going to do a video on that, but I basically attack it in 3 ways. I just will keep them there, prune them in the spring in a better shape and allow them to recover. I might cut them back hard, but I also might try to kind of support them in a way with some twine. But I'll do a video on that to show what I'm doing to recapture the beauty of my boxwood balls in the front. Euonymus. What was the question about that? I can't remember what the question was.
So we'll move on. Clay.
Clay. Yeah, a lot of people ask, how do I grow things if I have such terrible soil? Because I'm always talking about my terrible soil. Well, number one, I try to do like you do. I amend with lots of compost and leaves and other organic matter. But I also typically try to find plants that are adaptable to clay soil. So a good example would be, I just did a project with the Dragon Prince Cryptomeria from Southern Living. On the tag it says can adapt to most any soil. So if you found any plant that says it can adapt to almost any soil conditions, that's a plant you might want to add to your landscape.
Squirrels.
Squirrels. If you have followed me for any length of time, you know that squirrels are my nemesis, my arch rivals. Interestingly, while they dig up lots of my seedlings, they don't bother my big mounds of bulbs, my big holes that I fill with tulip bulbs in the fall for spring bloom. Maybe 1 or 2 here or there, but for the most part, they kind of just leave them alone. And I don't have much of a problem with rabbits or deer. I do live in the inner city, so I don't have some of those country kinds of pests that you may have. But yes, squirrels are always an issue, but for some reason, they kind of seem to leave my tulips alone. That said, if you have a real problem with squirrels eating your tulips, then you might want to try daffodils or something that they don't find so tasty.
What is a 4-season plant and where do you get it?
Okay, when I say, someone asked me, what do I mean when I say 4-season interest? And that is pretty much a plant that just looks good throughout the 4 seasons. So for example, boxwood, they look beautiful in the spring when they set out that pretty new growth. They've got strong architectural form in the summer. They obviously look beautiful in the fall, and then in the winter they're evergreen and they look beautiful. Likewise, something like an oak leaf hydrangea, I love the bark and the twigginess and the dried flower heads, so it's beautiful in the wintertime. It's gorgeous when it erupts and the buds break in the spring. It's beautiful in the summertime, obviously, when it blooms, and then its foliage turns a gorgeous rusty orange shade in the fall. So it too has seasons of bloom, or 4 seasons of interest. So that's pretty much, I mean, it kind of holds its good looks over 4 seasons.
Facebook group.
Facebook group. A lot of you have asked about my Facebook group, and I do have a Facebook group. It's for LV Insiders. If you're a member of LV TV and you are it's $9.99 a month, we may be examining that in the future because so many people have shown interest in being a part of the Facebook group. But if you're a member of LV TV, you also get a membership to the LV Insider Facebook group, and you get a kind of a daily newsletter on recommendations and life musings from me. But stay tuned as we kind of try to navigate through COVID and some other things that are going on. That might change, and we might try to open it up a bit more to others. Any more questions? Have I exhausted my list? Okay, so for right now, if you've got any questions, just shoot them to me. And it's hard for me to answer every individual comment, but I'll do the best I can. Just comment below, ask me what your questions are, and we'll try to put them on our FAQ list for next time. Thanks, you guys.